I think we can, or I wish we can, or oh yes we can. I'm sorry, I forgot. Another interesting point of consensus trance is something the brown world's in. 90% of this planet is brown. 90% of this planet is afraid to attack Obama. Yeah, white people are attacking Obama verbally, but everyone else is afraid to. He went to South America, and he's not their friend. They know he's not their friend, but they don't really know what to do with it, so they kind of walked around, shook his hand, whatnot. It's very weird. It's very funny. But you think this only applies to you. No, it applies to the whole planet. The whole planet's been brainwashed. Media is very encompassing now, but it's very funny stuff. It's very dynamic. If you're in a trance, you can't see it, and if you're in a consensus type thinking, you're never going to see the type of things. But that's okay. That's what we're here for. And that's the end of the discussion on active measures, and I'm going to go into some other stuff, some anecdotes, so on and so forth, but I just want you to have that down. The inevitable future, the inevitable future. Many of you have seen our enemies' statistics about the inevitable future. Well, that's a classic demoralization technique. The inevitable future will never happen. 50 years from now, the population statistics will never happen. Their stuff has never once been right in the history of their stuff, and they've used this technique for hundreds of years, actually. The inevitable future. The inevitable future, everyone has a Korean grandmother. The inevitable future of Mexico is this or Mexico is that. The inevitable future and the inevitable future. It's all a lie. Their statistics are always a lie because race is real and it matters, but their statistics are garbage. Their statistics are like the Soviet statistics when it was on its last legs, and they know that too. The biggest thing they worry about is a place collapsing and you getting up leaving because they're not going to have any power. Europeans are spread out over the whole top of the planet. Yes, the whole top of the planet. We have all the land on this planet. We're sitting on all the key watering holes, and we have serious weapon systems. We don't have little weapons. And they know that. The inevitable future is again, a typical demoralization technique. That's the only inevitable future is that you're 10% of the population and you got the whole top of the planet. And anytime you expand, you consolidate. So the only inevitable future would be in a collapse. You might go into consolidation and you'll end up in a Russian-German axis. So-called Western civilization moves east. They're more worried about that than they are in 50 years from now, you being half Mexican. They ain't going to happen. They know that. So don't fall for any classic demoralization technique. It's all BS. Fear produces a consensus trance. We see this on some of the boards we've analyzed, several of the white nationalist boards. Don't get into a consensus trance. Don't fall for that. But it's difficult if you don't know what it is. They're difficult traps. I'm also going to go in and introduce you to traps that are dynamic, called ethnic conflict models, ECMs. They were invented a long time ago, and they've been developed over hundreds of years. Communists perfected them. I'm going to introduce you to all kinds of neat stuff, just so you know about it. They could come up. This stuff is dynamic. It happens in front of you every day. But let's go back to proactive and active measures. You see, true information will not mean anything to the Muslims. I could take out a Muslim and take him to a Holocaust museum, but they're never going to believe it. True information will not work. Even if it's true, they won't believe it. You see, I could take out your average self-hating white animal, the baby boomer that hates himself for being white, but true information won't mean anything. It takes 15 years to basically neutralize it. That's how toxic this stuff is. Brainwashing is a big deal. That's how it works. But there are techniques to neutralize the Lone Rangers. They're called humiliation techniques. It's pointing out the obvious again and again. It seems trivial, but it's not. It's kind of insidious. It's what they fear the most. You see, no closed society has ever in the history of the world been brought down through steel. The Timothy McVeighs can't bring down the Berlin Wall. It doesn't work that way. Yugoslavia happens after the fact. It doesn't happen before. That happens much later. They know that. But sound does bring it down. It's always done through talking points through sound. The horn of Jericho brings down the walls of Jericho, not bombs. The silver whistle brings down the bulletproof glass if it's designed correctly. But that's what Bob does, and that's what I'm here to help you with, to put you on a consistent set of talking points. Now, talking points work simply because you're making a point. You're not arguing. You will never hear me argue. I don't argue. I just make a point over and over again. If you had the experience of seeing Bob on Fox News, some Fox affiliate had him briefly. They'll never have him again. We don't get invited to parties in Washington for a reason. They don't want to know he exists. I know what you're thinking. He worked for the CIA. That's dicey. I'll tell you things about his time at the CIA that I know. or that I like his interview process, but Bob was hired there because he's very good at what he does, and what goes on the inside is not necessarily what you think. Don't think that they're not looking for people to become visible to help themselves. You don't know anything. You only think you do. We don't know anything about you. Most people don't know anything about each other in this society or on this planet. Most guys are not like Bob. Most guys are not. What you see is what you get. Most guys will not sit in a CIA interview and if asked if they're anti-Semitic, go, yes, I believe all Jews should get their own, I believe everyone deserves their own country, which is to say I believe all Jews should get their own countries, someplace they can Judaize each other. But I also believe all Jews should go there. I don't like being Judaized. So yes, that makes me an anti-Semite. He said that at a CIA interview. And yeah, jaws dropped. Jaws dropped. You say something like that, you're going to get attention and visibility. And he got hired. He got hired. Sure. What goes on the inside is not what you think. But yeah, it takes some bottom balls to say that. You got to be WYSIWYG to say that. Most people wouldn't. Most of you will not say that at an alphabet agency interview. But if you do, you could be useful to someone there. Or someone couldn't stop him from being hired. Oh, and he was sitting across from a Hebrew when he said it. There's nothing they could do. He's good at what he does. He's that good. He's that dangerous for you. They ignore him. Why don't they go after him? Going after someone like Bob could trigger something much larger. You know, half of them don't know where the other half of the agencies are, and a third of the people that work for them don't know do. So you end up in a dangerous and volatile situation. If they went after something like Bob, use your imagination. You would probably know about it very quickly. So would the rest of the planet. So don't think everything's going on, or don't think everyone's out to get you. Don't be in a consensus trance or a fear trance. Bob Whitaker is very dangerous, but he's not dangerous in a dealing steel capacity, although he could be under certain conditions, I guess. You know, anyone can learn to use a gun effectively. That's the first thing they teach you. But he is dangerous because what he does is much more violent, actually. Much more violent to this type of system. They just try to ignore him. That's why you won't have him. Unless someone's overrides, and you know that can happen. You can get overrides. People running Anglosphere are in a lot of trouble right now. That doesn't mean deals can't be cut. It doesn't mean Lando Calrissian, you know, like that Star Wars movie where someone's in a crisis and Lando Calrissian gets a visit from Darth Vader and he's got to do a deal. Well, Darth Vader doesn't do nice deals, but that's okay. You know, the fact that he can do a deal is fine. And if someone's in a crisis, when I use that term, someone's in a crisis, immediately, and if we're doing deals with them, they're doing deals with Darth Vader. We're not Lando, we're Darth Vader. And the deals wouldn't be nice, but that can happen. In that case, Lando has to give up Han Solo and everything else he wants because Darth Vader doesn't play nice. But these are just topics and techniques. When I use wide sky, what you don't see can kill you politically. These are our terms. Undercover lover, that's what you think of as a lone wolf. I don't use those terms. I don't deal steel. Blowing big kisses. Blowing big kisses could be setting off a scenario. WYSIWYG, Bob is what you see is what you get. Most people don't understand that. It scares them because they're not used to seeing it in this society or on this planet. This whole planet's wide sky. You don't know anything about your Democratic senator. You just think you do. The right day at the right hour comes up and he hits a talking point that I've said may blow your mind. You need to be prepared for that. But then again, as you're driving in your squad car, who on earth knows what you do? No one. No one. That's how this society works right now. That's how the planet is, basically. So you're 15 years after demoralization has been neutralized with a new medium. The new medium is dynamic, internet. This thing I'm talking on, something like this has never been done on the internet. Something like me, you probably never heard the topics I'm talking about or quite in the same way. It's pretty interesting stuff to some people. Some people throw it out. I don't care. There are no PayPal links. You're White Rabbit. We play foul of the White Rabbit. I'm not idealistic. You just think someone like me is. No, I'm about taking power. I show you how to take power verbally over a situation. That's where it all begins. Or playing Follow the White Rabbit, which is much more dynamic than you think. Follow the White Rabbit is a game you're already playing. I'm just going to teach you how to do it in the next level, and we're going to use Bob's stuff because Bob is good. Bob's so good that someone needs him, and we need him. But Bob's work is done. I'm not the velvet pen. I'm the velvet tongue. I'm the one that's walking you through. Stage 1, understanding a talking point. Martha Stewart's a very famous lady. Martha Stewart had some visitors from, I don't know what agency they were from, or from the local office of, maybe it was a local, actually attorney's office in New York. They visited her and asked her a bunch of questions. I can't even remember what it was over.